Good morning. So in this video I will present the current state of the care room. In general, one side is the day and the other side is the night. This is the night side and this is the day side. The day. They look very similar, but it doesn't really matter much because my intention is not to create very different effects. The issue of the depth in the night was discussed at length about like 2 months ago. It's very interesting. It's much more pertinent in Planet Venus, where they have tremendously long nights and days, but it's also relevant in Earth. But it's not the subject of the topic of this video. The effects are pretty straightforward. So I will explain the kind of like the intention behind those choice of paintings. Even though this explanation has no kind of like authority. The Neo language is easily it's easily subject itself to postmodern kind of like analysis in a way that the intention of the author doesn't really matter, and I should discuss it in a future video. But it's important perhaps for you, my audience, to understand what's going on, even though it's pretty simple. There will be nothing new in this video. All these issues were discussed in the past, but one of my tortures is that I need to repeat myself all the time, again and again, because people just don't listen and don't care. So as a service to my loyal audience, I'll explain what's going on. I'll try to make it short. I'll say it now. But what several things takes place right now. Not only the starships that are starting the flying procedure. Another thing that happens is gate activity that actually I don't want to discuss in this video. And I'll be honest with you, as I've said several times in the last months, I've reached a point in which I became kind of like agnostic towards the gates. Like, or in simple words, I care about the gates much less than before. And this is kind of like, it might sound like a blasphemy, and it goes against so much, so many things that I've done the last 4 years, both like practical things and research, and also many things that my predecessors have done. But I'm tired of all these action movies that these action movies are directed and manipulated sometimes, they are planned for several years. They planned it for several years, and they executed it in a very short amount of time. One such a thing, according is described in the Bicycle 201 saga, part 16, and I recommend to watch it if anyone didn't watch it yet. It's a dramatic. It's 90 minutes. It's the 16th part of a very long, and actually, not everything is very interesting, I admit, but if you have time, you can watch the whole 16 part. But the last one is, for certain, the most important and also the most dramatic. It's 90 minutes, and I recommend to listen to it. It depicts events that happened during the early 80s. And in a way, it's a prophecy that because similar stuff happened actually during the war, during this war between Israel and the Palestinians. But it wasn't the first action movie. There were these things are it started in the 1920s. So much manipulations of the gates that are done in order to mainly to fight the Israelis. And I myself, I was so invested in it, but enough. I mean, I reached a conclusion that, enough of it. Because the gates, the gates are controlled by the Neros, and presumably they are Neros, and they are like bus stations. You can, if you are like, Rabbi Lord Commander of the Fleet, which is a title that I invented to myself and also other people in the past, but now I'm the Rabbi Lord Commander of the Fleet. I guess in the past I explained why I chose this kind of ridiculous title. So you can ask the Neros to manipulate every gate, every portal, like a very boutique bus station with a list of like parameters. That is only only discover more and more possible parameters. Because there is always the default behavior of the bus station, which is governed by the natural symbols, mostly the moon, but not only the moon. But you can manipulate. You can decide that. The gates. A person can only pass the gates like once every 2 weeks, or 2 times in their lifetime, or they can only the care must be there or not be there, or they need to be like in groups, or they need to be like to be infected with a disease, some kind of like a germ, or they need to be cleansed of a germ, and they need to eat, or they need to fast, and they need and yes, this kind of like programming language was used by my predecessor in order to save the life of many people, and also to fight the Israelis. But I've had enough of it. As the Rebbe Lord Commander of the Fleet, אני קובע פסק הלכה. Like I now, I decide, rabbinic law. It's like three sections to the law. The first section dictates that if the gates are open, the people that are living in the sovereign state or a sovereign entity when these gates exist must not be Nazis. The second section dictates that if the gates are closed, then the people that live in this, all the people that live in the sovereign entity that where these gates are located, they should not be Nazis. And the third section dictates that if there are no gates at all in any sovereign state whatsoever, then the people of that sovereign state, wherever it is, must not be Nazis. And this is my program. This is how I program. Like this is my programming. Directives with regards to the portals. So what do we do? But if but they are Nazis. So what do we do? So you annihilate 8 billion Nazis without remorse, and that's what's going on right now. Not 8 billions, little less, but certainly billions. Annihilation without remorse, ages 0 and above. You can call me Satan, I don't give a fuck. Call me Lucifer, Satan, Hitler, whatever, I don't care. This is the law of the land, and now it's enforced. Because you are Nazis, you are annihilated. All of you. Not only the Israelis. Israel is a piece of shit. It's nothing. A disgusting microbe. The heirs, the 8 billion, several billions of these 8 are to be annihilated without remorse. Very simple. I'm not going to play cat and mouse like me and maybe the people that will succeed me. What do you think that, I mean, forever we will play cat and mouse with you, like, I mean, to see that you do not continue the genocide and the rape? No. Enough. You chose genocide and rape, you chose Nazism, you are dead. That's it. Very simple. And it should be said that God created the heaven and the earth, and of course, God placed the moon, on the fourth day, famously. God placed the moon in its place, and God did it, I mean, for a purpose, as described in Genesis. During Wednesday, God placed the moon in its place, and He did it for a purpose. I mean, He didn't just do it like randomly. Okay, you need to understand something about God. Like I think of myself as like relatively close to Him. I allow myself to think like that, and so I can tell you something about God. He's actually very smart. I mean, unfortunately, it should be said, because many people, certainly in Israel and the United States, but in other places as well, in Earth, they think that actually they believe that God exists, and they believe that God created the world, which is fine, because both of these assertions are true, fine, but they also believe that God is stupid. So, like, I have like first-hand knowledge. The guy is very smart, very, very smart, very, very smart. And there is a reason. I mean, for the existence of the natural symbols. And I actually myself, I don't know the reasons. I mean, it's it's a relatively new kind of topic of my research and my kind of like, I mean, I started to speak about it like maybe 2-3 months ago, and unfortunately, I mean, I'm so much tortured that, I mean, I couldn't be. I need like to have like a peace of mind in order to conduct study. I mean, even though, I mean, it's very interesting subject, also becoming partly because it consists both of empirical research and also philosophical research. I mean, it's very nice that, I mean, it's both I mean they are together. I mean, they are important, but I cannot do either. Both like philosophical work and empirical work. I don't have like the mental capacity for such in my current state. That I'm always like I'm hunted by predators all the time. Anyway, there is a reason why there is like why the natural symbols exist, and I'm sure it's a good reason. And the correct solution to the problem of the Nazism of Homo sapiens, of course, I do not want to, of course, criticize any of my predecessors. Of course, they did what they've done after a lot of thought. I mean, they didn't just, I mean, it was not I mean, they planned it sometimes for 4 years, like years and ahead. So, and they had good reasons, of course, and they had certainly good hearts. But I mean, it was correct for the time, but now it's not the time for these actions, for these like action movies. Enough of that. The solution to the problem of Nazism is not like yet another, I mean, reprogramming of the gates. Even though it can be done, I mean, it's supported by the Neros, like by the programming language of the Neros with regard to the gates. But no, this is not the solution. The solution is the annihilation of humankind, and I'm in peace with that. Completely so. So there is the issue of the Starship that we'll discuss in a moment. There are implications on the gates. Mostly they will be closed and even destroyed, which is something that didn't happen in the past. I mean, it's not something that happens every day, because it's kind of like, I mean, it's an ancient thing. I mean, it's barbarian to destroy it. Like, it's like, Daesh that destroy lots of archaeological sites. That, I mean, almost universally, people of any affiliation, religion, I mean, think that this is barbarian. But yes, it will actually happen. I mean, now, not all the gates, but some of them. and they're actually much more than you know of. But it's not even that important because, I mean, you watched me create literally trillion gates. I mean, okay, so they're very small, so but I'm certain, and I've said it many times in the past, that I'm certain that the only thing that stops me, forbids me, disable me from creating new gates to Venus and maybe, but probably to other planets as well and moons, is just a relatively very simple consideration, which is energy. Energy is not, and it's not that big of, I live in an house arrest. The only thing they have is, simple batteries that I have, like several simple batteries, and one outlet, one socket in the room that, everything is connected to it. Just 220 voltage, and of course several transformers, DC transformers. But I'm certain that if I had access to more energy, but not tremendously more, not something that humans currently don't. You hear the cleaning machine? It's maybe the 10th time that it passes in the street this morning, and it's not atypical. Usually, it passes through the street once every 6 months, but in this street it passes sometimes 10 times in the same morning, because it's used as a torture against me. Not just the sound, but the electromagnetic effects. Just so you know why the Earth is destroyed. And this is documented in many videos. So this understanding kind of mitigates the historic loss of destruction of very ancient artifacts, because they can be recreated. Not by you, but you don't need them. You don't need the gates. It's obvious that humanity never even reached close to the civilization level or development level, and certainly moral level that is required of a species that is actively using such planetary portals. Now, another effect that it will take place is the robotization of the females that ate the Neros. It's somehow parallel to things that happened during the 80s, but during the 80s it happened to Titans, and today it will happen to just female Homo sapienses, and the process already started. In our time, the most hybrid creatures, again, in my terminology, which means people that ate the tea. And so the more you ate, the more hybrid you are. They're actually women. It wasn't always like that. You see, that's something that relates to the current state of intelligence agencies of the world. It certainly wasn't always like that in the 20th century. So there are many Nero monsters that are actually females, and females that were born Homo sapienses, and there are quite. It's not a curiosity. There are quite a bit of those. Many, I don't know, certainly thousands, but I don't know if tens of thousands, or I don't know. But there are many of those, in Israel and abroad, and they've already became kind of hybridic, not just by my terminology, but also that they started to manifest all sorts of behaviors and also health issues that were common among the Titan female population in the past. And also, to some extent, they started to think like Titans. I'll mention something that is kind of excuse me if you find it kind of not important enough to be mentioned in such an occasion, but, and it might be even seem funny to you, but it's worth mentioning because because it's, I mean, it shows you to, like, that the hybrids, I mean, it's not only that, I mean, they can use the bicycle mechanism and that they have the benefit, like, of the health benefit of the Titans after they eat the tea, but they also start to be like Titans in unexpected and even bizarre ways. So one such a thing is that it is known that Titan females, I mean, in general, as a generalization, their sexual preferences of males is almost entirely concentrated on, like, phenotypic size, which means, like, I mean, how big is like the sexual candidate, and, like, in all the dimensions, like height, weight, like, I mean, with you know, I sometimes, I mean, in jokingly, I mean, I mentioned that they are like elephant seals, like, I mean, because I remember that I watched the elephant seals colony in, like, in Argentina, in Patagonia. But I mean, it's like size is everything, like, I mean, you know, just, I mean, how big the creature is, like, I mean. So you can say that, I mean, it's, to some extent, it's true for Homo sapiens women, which is correct. And you can say that probably it was all to a much greater extent true in the past, like in the Paleolithic past, because certainly it relies on Paleolithic behavior, of course. But the fact is that now, I mean, humans in Earth are not Paleolithic, and one of the effects is that, I mean, sexual preferences of women, I mean, of course, it varies, I mean, but, I mean, in general, it's not dictated only by size, and certainly not by weight. I mean, mostly, I mean, like, weight is negatively, I mean, negatively kind of correlates with sexual preferences in Homo sapiens, but certainly not in the Titan population. So it's manifestly, I mean, it's evident that the hybridic females of our time, they change. I mean, even though they are Homo sapienses, they started, like, I mean, to kind of, like, adapt the sexual preferences of the Titans females, which perhaps was also something that is, like, hardwired to their brain in the Paleolithic past, but they do not live in the Paleolithic past, they live now, even though I mean, all humans are not disgusting Paleolithic creatures, but no, I mean, de facto they are not Paleolithic, I mean, by definition. And this will certainly happen because of the neurons that affect the brain as well, not only, you know, the arms or the legs, but also the brain. It's not that important, but it's kind of, I mean, it's an example of something that, I mean, unexpected, kind of, in the result of the hybridization of Homo sapienses. So what will happen now is that these females will be subjected to my will to some extent. How exactly this happens, and it's not that important. Of course, it's kind of like a punishment, because, I mean, they will always use the bicycle mechanism in order to control me, and now they will all of them will be controlled by me to some extent. I don't like the term control, and I don't use it, and I don't have, like, even have like, I mean, so honestly, I don't even know, like, currently, I mean, what should be done in this situation, because from my perspective, all humans should die. So I mean, outside of specific exceptions of nations and people, but so they should also die. Honestly, I don't understand. I mean, what this development. I mean, maybe I think, like, about it some more and understand, like, why is it necessary. But from my perspective, they should all die, just die. Of course, maybe I'll understand, I mean, the phenomenon better in the next couple of days. You heard that, I mean, I'm confused now and I speak slowly, not the usual, I mean, very quick speech, because I'm now, as we speak now, subjected to tremendous electromagnetic attack by these machines, as I speak. most certainly the retaliation will be against all humanity, not only the Israelis, and it will be done in the next couple of minutes. Just so you know, I mean, I don't know what the retaliation will be, but it will be something that encompasses the entire earth. And in order to retaliate against such attack, the Starship doesn't need my paintings. They are sentient creatures just like me, and they know the captains, admirals, generally like what you see in Star Trek. I mean, it's like, I mean, to some extent, it's like that. The main difference is that the ships are huge, even though in the Enterprise, like, is also pretty like big in like current human standards. It's huge, but their ships are tremendously larger, and mostly most of the size is taken by the gears that are simply so weapons, even though they can be used for terraforming purposes, which is also kind of like a weapon. I mean, it depends on like the point of view. I mean, usually you terraform places that do not contain life forms, certainly not sentient life forms. I mean, if you are being terraformed, like, I mean, while, I mean, you are sentient creatures, I mean, so, I mean, it's not good news. It's never good news. I mean, you usually do not want to be terraformed, like, I mean, when you're already there. Like, I mean, maybe you have a plan to go somewhere and you prefer that it will be terraformed before you get there. But if you're already there, I mean, it's like, I mean, the news that it's going to be terraformed is not good news. In the layman term, it's a huge, like, I mean, machinery, like, in mythological, proportion that is used for engineering, like planetary-wide engineering projects. So what will be the current project? Kill all humans, because they are disgusting. This is not terraforming. It requires much less energy and time than terraforming. Any kind of terraforming. It's actually it's barely an inconvenience, like, to kill all humans. Mostly they use radiation weapons for such purposes, and they have tremendous control over the radiation weapons. So they can choose specific wavelengths and types of radiation that will kill just humans and not even other animals. Certainly none. Will not affect the environment. Mostly that's what you see. Now it should be said, the two flags, the American flag and the Union Jack, do not represent the United States and Great Britain or UK or whatever. It's not what they represent in Neo language. I spoke about it quite a bit in the past. The American flags represent lethal radiation attack on humans, and the Union Jack, it's got actually several meanings, depends on context. But in our context, it's just, I mean, another signifier of lethal radiation. Like the flags, I mean, of the states, I said it many times, they are not interpreted by the Neos as, like, I mean, what's like the author intended. They are postmodern. They don't care what the author intended. Like the flag of Brazil is for the Neos, it signifies like, I mean, the planet Saturn. I mean, which makes sense if you think about it, but it's not what, I mean, the Brazilians wanted. And the flag of Israel is related to death because of the colors, the white and the blue. Like, the combination of white and blue is often signifies death. I'm not going to analyze now, I mean, the space opera scenes, because I've done so in the past. The important thing is that, these paintings, I mean, in our context, they signify the Earth, and that is being fired by the starships. Very simple, and there is like the opposite directions, because in order for it to reply while I'm in Earth, or if I'm not, like that, it will be independent of where am I. I've discussed it maybe like a day or 2 days ago. There's much that can be said about these two actually, but I've done so not long ago, and I don't. It's not necessary. It's not necessary right now. Although I use the hookah as because in addition to the paintings, like it's like the cherubs. I mean, the cherubim room is to some extent, I mean, can be seen as a variant of the Kodesh Kodashim. Like, I mean, in Solomon's temple, like the holy chamber with the cherubs describes in the Book of Kings. So, and it's also to the Ark of the Covenant, which is like a miniaturic. It's like a miniaturic, mobile miniaturic cherubian room, and also it contains also two cherubs, much smaller. I mean, the cherubs in the cherubim in the Holy of the Holies were like 5 meter. The wingspan was something like 5 meters, so they were huge. But you don't have to have just to say you don't have to have like a cherubian room in order to signify stuff for the Neros. I mean, they are not, you know, that rigorous. Like they do not piously. I mean, it's important. I mean, again, I said what I've said a couple of days ago. What's important is that, I mean, that we will have like a way to communicate in a way that will ensure proper instruction, practical instructions. It's not like deciphering an ancient like code of like or an ancient like tome of knowledge. It's not like that. So just, I mean, like the model of the Ark or the room. That, I mean, there are like two sides, and there is something in the middle. And what's in the middle is something physical. And mostly the physical stuff are things that you see that I create on this table, because that's what I have in this room. So I use the hookah as another representation of the starship. And when it's and you know, when it burns, I mean, you know, you understand what it signifies. Interestingly, the hookah, it's not. It doesn't really look like the Caribbean starships, and I mean, you can watch it with the naked eye during the night, so it's not like. So I mean, you know how it looks. It looks pretty much like, I mean, like the painting that I have one like close-up painting that I actually really like, but I had to sell it to my mother because I had to get some money, and like I mean, but what can you say? I mean, so it's like, I mean, so it's mostly like that. Or I mean. Similar to this is not a starship, this is the bicycle bacteria, but it's something like that. And I have many sculptures of it. So it doesn't really look like that, I mean, unless you observe it from a very specific angle. But I mean, interesting, just as a curiosity, it should be said that the hookah actually resembles many starships as they are depicted by humans in science fiction. I don't know if you can watch it. I mean, if you get it, but I mean, this is like the artificial gravity, you know, chamber, like it is used by the staff. And this is kind of like, I mean, this is like, I mean, the motor, whatever it is, and here, I mean. And you know, in the long like neck, I mean, something that, I mean, you can see actually in many, not only in science fiction, but also in kind of like, I mean, in space station design that is currently used by humans. for several reasons, but mostly because it allows modularity, simple modularity. So just to say, it's not that like the British, Great Britain and the United States will be radiated. The entire Earth will be radiated, and this is the way of the Neos, and it's the correct way, because if someone, wanted it to be different, they would have moved arms and legs to rescue me and my daughters from the Nazi hell, but they don't. They just move the mouth and the tongue. So this is what's going to happen. It's already happened, like in the last. It's not new, but it's only getting worse, and like you can see, like during the night, like I've had like this show of like adding more and more spaceships that are, of course, that are, of course, it's not that difficult like to understand the symbols, like that the round burning shape with the kind of that, and inside of it there are lots of like things that are burning. Mostly oil and beeswax, still remnants of enriched beeswax. It contains many neos and also life forms, and it burns very nicely. So that's what's going to happen in the next couple of days. I'm not going to leave the room because I have no money, so I have nobody in this world. So I have my daughters, but I'm not allowed to meet with them. So I need to wait until there are no more humans, and then I will be able to actually meet my daughters again and be with them as they deserve. I raised them since they were born, half the time, and they were taken from me a year ago by an unbelievably cruel Nazi state. Now, another parameter. The bottom painting is painting that actually one of very early painting that symbolizes, the burn of fascist states. Because fascism is, the symbol of fascism is like is this kind of, is the like wrapped pieces of wood that are wrapped together. And that's so presumably like to signify that like weak things that when they are wrapped like together they become strong, kind of like it's a fascist ideal. And I think this is also the etymology of the word fascism. That in some language it's related to these things, like to the like packages of like thin wood, I think, if I recall correctly. So you see the fascists burning. Now, one last element that we should discuss in this video, and it will be done for now, and maybe I'll speak some more later, is the exclusion section. Now, I'm not going to exclude China, because I want to be rescued from the Nazi hell, and I don't see them like rescuing me, and so it's just, it wouldn't be right to do so. Even though I said many times that this is the place where I prefer to move, like, and unless there will be a change. Of course, people have free choice, free will to act in all sorts of ways. The future is not like people should choose their path. But generally, from the knowledge that I had in the past, and it's still true, China is the correct place. But there is an exclusion section. This is not mentioned in the Book of Kings, like and also not like in the description of the Mishkan, like of the temporary, the mobile ark and the resting place of the tablets. Anyway, what these two, so these two paintings, they are, I mean, I'm not sure if the recovery requires much explanation. I like the top one, like, I mean, because I think it's kind of like, it's more interesting. The bottom one is a little bit of, I admit, a little bit naive. I painted it very early. I mean, the upper one was painted like several months after the lower ones, and so the lower one is a bit naive. But the idea is that these women are not specifically Titans. They can be Titans, and this is demonstrated by that the upper one, that she passes a gate, as a portal. But the important elements in both is the subjugation, is the fact that they are handcuffed. I mean, and because that's, I mean, that's the way humans treat each other, not only the Titans. And the cable is not it's not like randomly placed. This cable that you see, this signifies the trained bacteria that actually looks somewhat like that, and also, of course, it is used by the Israelis mostly, and maybe others as well, to subjugate people, not only Titans but Homo sapiens as well. And from my perspective, every person that was subjugated, I mean, with this, even, I mean, if they are Homo sapiens, I mean, if they are subjected by the bacteria, I mean, they should be spared, like, I mean, the radiation of at least currently. So you can ask, I mean, so why not, I mean, symbolize the fact that you want the trained bacteria to be gone? So, I mean, it's actually, I mean, so thanks for the comment. It's actually, I mean, correct. I mean, we should actually do it. Don't mind the pedophile zombies. I mean, they are known to kind of like, I mean, to just, I mean, they are props mostly. They are like props from, like, from Hollywood, or just, I mean, not like humans per se. Like, I mean, they look like humans indeed, but only in the most shallow level, like in the most, like, surface level. They resemble. I mean, it's true that physically they somewhat resemble humans. I mean, mostly if they do not, like, move. When they move, or certainly when they speak, I mean, immediately you understand that these are not humans. But you should understand that, I mean, mostly they were actually Homo sapiens, sometimes in their past, but they completely taxidermied, like, I mean, by the Israeli, not only the Israelis. This is done by many intelligence services. They just take these people, I mean, Homo sapiens, and just, I mean, create, in Hebrew it's like very nice word. It's called puchlatz. It's like it's difficult to actually pronounce it. Even in Hebrew it sounds funny. Puchlatz. It's kind of like a homonotypea. Like, I mean, it's a word that, I mean, the sound actually, I mean, the sound actually conveyed the meaning. Like, puchlatz, I mean, you immediately, I mean, if you don't know what it is, you understand that it's something disgusting and like extraordinary and funny. So it's taxidermy, like, so that's what they do to them. They just, I mean, they have no, like, brain at all, and it's mostly vocal cords that are used remotely by all sorts of, I mean, like, mostly Titan. In Israel, it's mostly by, I mean, not Titan High. In the past it was Titan. Now it's like the hybrid monsters that I mentioned in this video. So they just control them, and I mean, so it's best not to. And mostly they are not violent, even though in my case it's actually like an extreme example because they actually do use violence, like what you see here. I mean, and it was actually documented in this channel. But because I am like the target the Israeli intelligence specifically hate, but mostly, I mean, for in like almost all cases they do not use violence. They are just like speakers, like I'm calling. They are just so you can ask, okay, so if a speaker is needed, why the Israeli intelligence don't just buy speakers? It's presumably much cheaper than like a human taxidermy that requires food and like things. So it's a very good question. I'm not sure why. Maybe because for them it's actually cheaper to get the taxidermies from like all sort of trash cans all over the world that give them happily give it to Israel for free for many decades because they don't want the trash people. So the Israelis just get it, and for them it's cheaper than speakers because there is nothing that they do that a speaker could not have been like conveyed. Just say that just a simple speaker covers every function, like all the functionalities of the pedophile scumbags that you see here in this department or in any other intelligence cell that I'm always surrounded by these people. So it's in short, it's an open question. To the people of the Israeli intelligence, why not use just speakers? You can buy even fancy ones like Raman Cardon or I don't know what. Still be much cheaper than actually create a taxidermy of a human being and with all the required logistics. And again, there is absolutely nothing that they do that a speaker couldn't do. So just so you need to treat them as such, like basically props. So that will be all for now, and maybe I'll drink a tea, just regular tea, not a metaphor for nothing, and then I will continue with the hookah. I don't have much stuff to burn left actually. I still have the water from the metal aquarium, and even though I use it as to enrich the thing that I burn, so actually I burned some of it. I guess that in the next couple of days there will be nothing left of the containers. As you understand, the people of the Israeli intelligence, as I said, it's communicated to me by the zombies, but it's not that just zombies. That all the people of the Israeli intelligence, they think that these containers, they understand that they contain tremendous amount of neos, but they think that it's their property and not mine, even though I created it and it was documented very thoroughly how I created it and nobody else can do it. But from their perspective, it's not mine because I am a clone. I am not I'm like a doppelganger or an imitation, and this kind of evaluation of myself is something that is again ontological. It's true. From a philosophical perspective, they don't necessarily mean that I was replaced in any given time. From their perspective, my existence is always that of a clone. Again, they all, as I described it, as I've said, not a while ago, not long ago, they only agree that an original actually was alive and existed in Israel about 40 years ago because they received tremendous amount of money from many people all over the world because they admit to this fact. But besides the fact that there was presumably an original 40 years ago, other than that, by definition, I'm always a clone. They're the famous American hats that part of their job is to say whether I'm the original or the clone, and in 100% of the times they say that it's a clone, because from their perspective it's by definition it's true. It cannot be anything but clone. So because I'm a clone, it's not mine, because I didn't create it. Presumably the original created it, even though it never really existed. It's not totally logical, but it's the logic of of a pack of hungry wolves. I mean, they want to eat, and so it's theirs by right. And I am an imitator, and the fact that I'm sitting in this room right now, from their perspective, it's an act of like, I mean, of robbery, because I should be outside. I'm not sure where, because I'm under arrest in this room, mind you. But they don't care. They think that I should just leave this place, so they can take everything because it's theirs, and I'm just a clone. So that's why there is so much agitation. Like, I mean, that is of course manifested by misbehaviors of the taxidermists, but the root cause is the anger that people all over the intelligence agencies of Israel feel. That, I mean, they feel that this precious material was robbed from them by me. That, I mean, I like, presumably I'm like a dragon that, like, I mean, looted, like, you know, a heap of gold from I don't know who, and now he sits, like, he literally sits on the heap of gold, and he doesn't, like, I mean, he refuses, like, I mean, to get out, like, I mean, to run away, even though they use any kind of torture and psychological mechanism and electrical attacks for him to run away. But, and of course also to fucking ridiculous shows that supposedly, I mean, should increase the tension in the apartment. I mean, I don't know what the supposed operators think. I mean, mostly they don't think. But the idea is that, I mean, that the dragon should leave the treasure because it's not his, it's theirs. Even though it was documented solely how the dragon created the treasure, and no one else knows and how to do it, and no one else can do it. But again, the logic of a pack of hungry wolves. It could have been funny, but it's not that funny, because all of humanity is annihilated, not only because of that, but because of a way of behavior that is, I mean, you know, demonstrated very neatly in this case. So, I mean, that's it. So enjoy the winter. I mean, in Israel and it's kind of, I mean, winter just, I mean, started. I mean, just now, which I guess is good. I mean, I'm not sure, because I mean, if there are no, I mean, let's think about it like some other time. Like, I mean, if, like, what, there is also the war in Gaza, so, you know, I mean, you know, wars and seasons are kind of related, but it's not urgent to think about it right now. So let's postpone this kind of like philosophical and empirical inquiries to some other time.